Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome back to the WGLNA Season 1 Gold League. I'm your host, Christian Toma. To my left is David Williams. Make sure to check us out on Facebook and YouTube, /WGLNA. If you're watching this anywhere other than BattleViewer.com, go ahead and close that out and go to BattleViewer immediately just for a better experience of watching the game. And finally, go ahead and follow us on Twitter, @WGLNA, so you guys can stay updated on what's happening in the league around you.
You can also check out the question of the day, which is, who is your favorite team to watch this season? We've already answered. Both of us picked High Voltage.
That's right.
But just because the highlights, man.
Yeah,
the highlights.
They're making it. They're ranking that one up. If you guys have just joined us, an amazing victory for Synergy against #RU 5-1. But up next, we have Noble versus 07. And as far as the face-off goes, we are ready for both of the gentlemen. On the side of Noble, we have Comps. And the side of 07, we have Foster Kid. Gentlemen, welcome to the face-off.
Hey, thanks for having me.
Absolutely. Comps, good. Oh, fantastic. Another day in paradise. Comps, we're going to go ahead and start with you. Now, you guys, maybe a little further down on the standing as most people would expect. What do you guys think you rank among the top teams of the season?
Well, I think we're up there. I mean, we've had two difficult games against past season's champions, Elevate and High Voltage, who have shown that they're a really strong team, even though they're new. So, I mean, we just had a tough starting for the season, and I mean, it'll improve down the road.
Voltage. It's an entirely separate unit of measurement. No, I'm just kidding with you. So you seem to have returned to your proper level of game last week. What changes did you make to bring that about?
Prep. I mean, it's straightforward. We put the work in, and it showed. Like for Elevate, I mean, I don't think we were as ready as we thought we were for steps, but we put the work in, and we showed Refuse that we were the better team.
Absolutely. Congratulations again on that. Now, Foster Kid, going to go over to you. You guys have been doing very well this season. Do you guys think you can maintain this level of success all the way to the playoffs?
Well, as long as we don't sort of, get blown out again like High Voltage, I'll be pretty happy. But, I mean, I think we're going to do all right. Like, I mean, we have a lot of tough teams coming up, though. These next three matches are all incredibly difficult. Noble, Elevate, and then Refuse. So it's going to be, I think it's pretty much going to be decided based off the outcome of those three matches. But we're looking to just ride it out here.
Yeah, pretty much, man. So that actually kind of leads me to my next question, which is last week you played High Voltage, and quite frankly, it got ugly. How did your team handle that loss, and how have you adjusted since?
It's okay. I mean, we started off much stronger than I really expected us to this season, since we're kind of a new team. I mean, we only have, 5 returning guys? 6 now, I guess, with Warbander back. But, I mean, we're just looking to sort of get our feet wet here. But, I'm High Voltage, we didn't take it too hard, basically. They're really strong, and there's nothing wrong with losing to them. Even if it's 5-0, I mean, we didn't get to play defense on mines, which we feel sort of better at. So it could have easily been 5-3 or 5-2 instead.
All right.
That's a good way of looking at it. I got one last spontaneous question for you.
Do it.
Now, you're wearing a Boston Bruins shirt. Are you trying to pander to my sports affiliations, or is this a coincidence?
No, I'm actually trying to soften up Rude Awakening. So.
Also another Boston night.
Little mind games going on. Well, Comps, I'm going to go ahead and ask you any question or any last words you can say to your opponent.
No. Good luck, and 07.
Fantastic. Foster Kid.
Thank you. Yes. So 07 there. Have fun.
All right, gentlemen. Good luck. Thank you so much, and best of luck. We'll see you in the battle.
One thing I learned from that interview very clearly is that neither of those two were in the military, because those salutes would not pass muster, my friends.
I thought they looked fine. I think you guys did great.
You weren't in the military either.
Yeah. Oh, how'd you know?
That's pretty obvious.
Oh, all right. Well, now this coming up. Now we have Noble, who has 2 wins and 2 losses, I believe, against 07 with 3 wins and 1 loss. On the side of Noble, like we were talking about going through, these teams seem very close, right? They seem kind of neck and neck as far as maybe standings go, and or did you disagree?
Standings, sure.
Okay.
They haven't. It's a hard group of 2 people to compare. But in general, historically, player skill, what we've seen out of the 2 teams so far, I'd have to say it's much more in Noble's favor than 07's. It should be, but we've seen 07 play up better than we would expect.
Sure.
And we've seen Noble play worse than we'd expect.
Sure.
So let's take a look at the rosters real quick to see who exactly is going to be playing up or down in this instance. For Noble, the people who have been really standout players so far in terms of just numbers, and that's important to differentiate, Akula and Canadian Impact, I believe. Meanwhile, for 07, Vitroxity and Synergy 3K have been sticking up forward. Now, the reason I say just numbers is because that's all we see in these stat screens. And unless you really go back and watch the battles, it's hard to say, did those numbers come at the cost of somebody else's life or not?
Sure.
But that's something we will definitely see today as these two teams face off on what I believe is going to be Mines.
That's right, David. We're into our now third match of the night. First battle, Noble versus 07 Gaming. Let's get right into it and check what we've got for our tanks.
Going to Mines right off the bat. Questionable choice, but we'll talk about that in a minute. Noble with 4 IS-3s, an Object 416, an RU-251, and a T-37. Meanwhile, 07 with 2 IS-3s, 4 T-54 lightweights, and a T-37. I don't know why Noble is running so heavy, aside than they are likely going to do some sort of hard push on top of the hill, brute forcing it with IS-3s. I think we've seen that before so far from them, and it more or less worked out, if I remember correctly. Choosing Mines or allowing Mines to be played against Noble, I think, is a mistake, because they struggled on it to begin with, and then they turned it around. And obviously, they're going to be practicing any map that they struggle with. They're not the type of team that just lets that kind of thing go.
Sure.
So I would just stay away from it. Look for another map, outplay them on it.
Wow.
Double tap on Fossa Kid from Kula and Germ right off the bat. These IS-3s owning the middle here, and 07 is not taking up proper map control to make Noble pay for this. And in fact, Vetro and Makos are very exposed here on the top in positions that look kind of okay to begin with until you see the front pike of those IS-3s rounding over, and then it all of a sudden starts looking a lot worse. Makos, I don't know if he wants to keep moving forward where he is. That is one of the easiest mistakes to make on top of the mine here. You move a little bit too far forward from where Makos is, and you're trapped. There's no way to get away. Where he's going now is better. Stay back. Akula taking a ton of damage.
Push from Noble coming up, like you're saying. IS-3, Akula going extremely low. One more shot, and he should go down, but X-Soldier finding Fosta. There it is. Makos going to pick up Akula. A 1-for-1 exchange here. And now Vetro and Makos looks like they might be in some trouble. But a beautiful shot into Commander J, and Makos going to finish that one off. Good crossfire coming out from the side of 07 Gaming. Makos going to go ahead and bail off the hill, as well as Vetro. And those T-54 lightweights, Vetro on his way out, trying to take some shot onto Militant up there. Takes a little damage himself, but a good rotation here. Now 07 looks like here's the response. They're pushing their way up in the hill. Commodore and Warbander, they'd be able to aggressive Canadian Impact trying to stop them for that. But over on the side, ZXFT and Rocks going against Dodo in that Object 416. ZXFT taking a little bit of damage. Let's see how Dodo can respond to this. Canadian Impact taking 437 points. ZXFT dropping Canadian Impact after that quick amount of damage going through. And now 4v6 on the side going for 07 Gaming. And the push against Dodo will continue over in the corner. Makos taking a little bit of damage as well. But Militant coming in to back his teammate up there. Now a 2-on-2 down in that southern part of the map. Militant taking some good damage from across. Warbander doing a good job. Militant getting dropped extremely low in that RU-251. One more shot, he will go down himself, but ZXFT also finding the response. Rocks gonna be the one to pick up Militant. Now just 3 members remain. Dodo in a lot of danger there as Rocks gonna pick him up. Now just 2. It is X-Soldier and Germ against 6 members of 07. They are pushing up. They want to end this one out. Looking great. Looks like 07 is going to take this first victory on Mines.
What is in the water tonight? Because 07 is playing better than I've ever seen him play before. Every decision they made, aside from in the very beginning Makos' position, but as soon as he adjusted, perfect. Everything they did on the way up, perfect. Is all a trap, specifically for what Noble was trying to do.
There it
is. 6 of them are still alive after that.
Yeah.
6.
That's fantastic.
But so like I was saying, 07 playing better than I've ever seen him play before, especially on Mines.
Wow.
Right? But at the same time, this was enabled by the fact that Noble is running just not a great strat for Mines. We've talked about that. Perhaps I was wrong. Perhaps you do want to take Noble to Mines, because running that many IS-3s, I don't know if they figured it out yet. because 07 had exactly what they needed. They put two 54s in the corner. It's not like in that situation when you have so many 54s and the enemy team is running mostly IS-3s, the things you can rely on are they're not going to get anywhere quickly.
Okay.
So you can spread out a lot more than you would otherwise.
Okay.
Just two 54s in the southwest, two 54s on the top of the hill. We'll
Sure.
spread out, and no matter where they try and drive those IS-3s,
We'll meet in there.
we'll shoot them, we'll run, we'll shoot them, we'll run, because they're big and they're slow and they're heavy on a map that is relatively small, has huge sight lines, a lot of cover to run away to, and favors lighter tank play. Just better out of the gate strategy-wise, better lineups, better play.
Okay.
As we discussed with the #RU versus Synergy thing, just better.
Better. All out for it. Now, looking at the side, if two teams run this similar lineup, or let's say if Noble goes ahead and tries to run that lineup again with the heavy tanks, or I shouldn't say if they, because obviously it didn't work too well for them, what could they do differently in that situation going against so many light tanks? So they just not run that lineup?
Yeah, I mean,
Okay.
my only answer is
Don't run it.
immediately just don't run so many IS-3s. There's no point. I don't.
Okay.
Perhaps if they had blitzed it directly up the hill off the start, it would have worked better because then you don't have the other angles from the 1-2 to worry about so much. You still do, but there's other problems there. If you blitz over the middle and they're waiting for you, just no matter what the 54s are gonna, you have to create a fight, an actual tank-on-tank fight. And on mines,
With those heavies. Not
on
gonna.
mines, you can't do it reliably.
All right. Well, let's see if Noble switches their lineup or if they bring the same one. They have a response to what 07 was doing, or 4-7 will take another victory. Ladies and gentlemen, into our second battle of our third match of the night. Let's see what we got for our tanks.
Noble with 4 IS-3s, an Object 416, a T-54 lightweight, and a T-37. 07 with 2 IS-3s, 4 T-54 lightweights, and T-37.
So, no.
No, but we'll see if Noble has a different way of operating this that makes us all wrong about this. Or
Right.
I guess me, I'm the one who's really being so adamantly against it.
I just nod.
I don't know here. This 07 is again already in better positions.
Oh, a shot missing also on Amekos, and they're responding by taking some on Militant. Yeah, not the best opening there coming out for Noble Gaming.
Okay, Vetro and Makos need to get in better positions immediately. They're wasting a little bit too much time here against ever-encroaching IS-3s, and they need to get into the positions they were in last time to really stop it. Makos, there we go. His original position he had there was a little bit better. It seems like they're slightly sort of working this out. Vetro's position is a problem, though. However, Canadian Pack getting wrecked on the way up may not end up being that big of a problem.
Let's see Noble having the train of IS-3s and followed by T-54 back there in the boost, pushing on top of the hill, getting Vetro and Makos to bail off the side. Canadian Impact taking a little bit of damage, but definitely not as much as last time when they tried that. I remember Noble lost a lot more just in the match before.
And a lot of that is Vetro's position, being at the top of the mine instead of where we saw Makos go last time. And these are things that you have to practice out. You have to have that, like, the top of the hill on mines, we talked about this before, there's a recipe to how to do that.
Right.
There is not a lot of deviation in how to do it. That's it. Like, once you
gotta
figure
do
out
it
how to
and do
play
it.
that, that's how you play it, and that's it. There's no spontaneity about it. You either do it right or you don't. And if you don't, you run. That's it. Get off the hill.
Which looks like what 07 was doing in that situation, so a good call from them to back out knowing that they were not going to hold that for long. Fosta and that T-37 for the side of 07 Gaming starting to apply cap pressure, now down to 68 seconds. Still plenty of time for Noble to respond, and over in the south eastern corner we've got, or southwestern corner, excuse me, we have Rocks and ZXFT, both in those T-54 lightweights. Dodema doing his best in that Object 416 to kind of sit back. Looks like he's taking shots at Fossa, nothing hitting, and Commander J is on the move. A little bit of pressure going out there, but looking as far as what 07 is doing, sending these tanks around with those IS-3s around, Noble not responding to this. Are they allowing this, these IS-3s to get into a better position? Should they have pushed, should Noble have pushed earlier?
It really depends on which side they roll off the hill, whether I can really answer that or not. But, I mean, they got the ultimate strategy they wanted here. which is get the IS-3s on top of the hill.
Sure.
That's what they've been trying to do with this the whole time. So I'm going to reserve judgment until I see exactly what they do with it. But if they're doing what everybody else has done so far, then yeah, it's going to be crazy late.
Oh, cap pressure getting extremely low, but a beautiful reset from Dodoma going against Foster there in that T-37. We're setting it back down to 25 seconds. Commander J and Akula up on top of the hill. Commander J looks like they're just doing a good job proxy spotting, and Akula finding Foster. Now 07 looks like they're going to abandon the fact that they were trying to cap sending Warbander and Commodore in those IS-3s just right past there, looking maybe turn their turrets up, looking for the hill. As Vetro still maintaining in the back there. Militant on top of the hill in that T-54. A little bit of damage going on to Commodore. And now the push, ZXFT in that T-54 lightweight, followed a little bit behind by Rocks. Going into this wall core now. David, that position that he's in right there, looking not the best for him as X-Shoulder gets a shot out, dropping him very low. Let's see if they can capitalize on that. Warbander taking some more shots himself, but there we go. Rocks come around the corner to Dodoma in that 416. Getting some response, though, back from Impact up on top of the hill there in that IS-3, and not sure what's happening. A lot of just damage going out. This seems just kind of very spread out here. If you were, if you were 07, where would you start moving your tanks to, to kind of capitalize being a tank down?
Honestly, there's not really a whole lot of options left for 07 at this point in time.
Okay.
Aside from just sort of trying to get Noble to react to you in some way, which
Not doing.
Cap pressure, perhaps setting up more of a trap for the IS-3 that pokes over the 4 line to get the cap reset, and then putting on some more cap pressure is probably the best answer I can give you in this point in time.
Okay.
But right now, it's just not a good position for them to begin. Those IS-3s on top of the hill make it hard for them to push, and Dodoma is very, very safe where he is right now, as their previous opponent learned very roughly last time we watched. Going after him is not what you want
Not
to do
always
in this
wise.
situation. Canadian Impact Commander J will light you up when you do. And a little bit Vetro and Makos
So this is the
trying to
push.
make some sort of play there on the north side.
Let's see what happens. They're taking some shots, nothing connecting as they pop up. X-Soldier, Akula, and Germ find Vetro. Militant on top of the hill there, getting a good proxy spot. Dodoma over on the side, finding Rocks, and Commodore there, just finally finding X-Soldier. Militant, though, still on top of that hill. Vetro's turrets are turned to help his friend out. Makos has to bail off the hill as he was taking too much damage from Germ, but Commodore taking Akula down with the help of Warbander there. A beautiful pickup, and now Germ trying to chase Makos in that IS-3. He will find him. Let's see what they can do for it. No, Militant is going to find Vetro, and Commodore is extremely low himself. Warbander, the only healthy one, but he's been set on fire, taking damage after damage there as it continues to tick down, now below half health in that IS-3. Germ doing a beautiful job picking that up. Canadian back coming on the corner. Looks like he finds Commodore right now. Just 2 members remain for the side of 07. Noble doing a great job. Now looks like they're just wanting to clean up. There it is simultaneously. Noble finding the 2 remaining members. Again, a victory making it tied up 1-1 against 07 Gaming here.
07's counter push, or I guess their original push, I don't know what to call that. And that last little push they did was actually surprisingly more effective than I expected it to be.
With,
but ultimately still
Vetro and
failed. Yes,
back.
Commodore and all those people trying to come in for the different angles.
Doing what they can do
needed
with
to
the
get-
got.
A lot of it comes down to that initial hill fight, and they need to get more damage when those IS-3s push up the hill.
Sure.
And they were waiting for it perfectly. They did everything perfectly the first time around. They just didn't do it so well this time. And perhaps Noble sharing hit points a little bit better on the way up, but I didn't really have the proper angle to see how well they were doing that.
Now, is the main reason, one thing I want to kind of point out, that we haven't seen many, if any, tanks go for the eastern cap in the town there. Is
It's
the
a death
reason?
trap
It's
for the
just
most
because
part.
people on the hill can shoot you down. Is that the main?
From a hill, from the south, there's no
It's
real
just
cover.
bad.
It's just death. I mean, you can do kind of the cheesy little like block, make a wall with tanks and try and cap fast, but people on top of the hill will rip you up.
Sure.
And you can't. I mean, if you have some tanks on top of the hill and some tanks in the eastern cap, both are vulnerable to their own isolations, their own pushes. Just in general, still not a fan of the overall IS-3 strategy from Noble. I think a more rehearsed strategy from 07 would have taken it down again.
Okay.
But it didn't work in that instance. Nothing particularly notable about that match, though.
Well, one thing I do want to also point out, when you see teams running like identical strats, right, from match to match, one working for them so well, the other not, what plays to that? Is it just, you would assume that, you could have 07 take another victory there.
Yeah, I mean, they failed different points of execution in hitting those shots on the way up. And that's pretty much it. You got to practice enough to execute correctly.
Okay.
And they didn't for one reason or another.
Yeah, well, practice makes perfect, as they say, ladies and gentlemen. We're into our next battle, Noble versus 07. We've now switched sides. We'll have Noble on offense, 07 on defense. Let's get right into that and take a look at what do we got for our tank lineup.
For Noble, we have 1 110, 5 T54 lightweights, and a T37. Meanwhile, 07 with an IS-3, 4 T54 lightweights, and 2 LTTBs. It's going to be tricky to make sure you use those LTTBs correctly, but if you do, they virtually always pay out. In this situation, it's a lot of lightweights to be handling with LTTBs.
Now, looking for, when you have these LTTBs, what are you looking for as far as a, effective use of bringing that tank to this fight?
Gaining vision is one thing. But other than that, the main characteristic of tanks like LTTBs,
oh, here we go. A lot of fight going on. Dodoma, Lizzie's coming in the corner. ZXFT getting focused, dropping below half health. A lot of damage going across to 07 there from the side of Noble. Great job dropping the health down to almost 1,000. But there's the response. Makos on top of the hill, getting some damage onto Germ there. Kula also taking shots as well. Now, 07 having the hill. Warbander, Commodore, Vetro, and Rocks down there in those T4s and the 1 IS3 sitting back. The reason, David, that they aren't pushing is because what?
Who isn't pushing? You're talking about
just these
Noble?
4 members of 07 there, just down there in the back.
Well, there's no real need to at the moment.
Okay.
They need to make sure they have a proper isolation before they bring them out whatsoever. Germ is looking kind of exposed if they saw it. But really right now, anybody who went up the hill would have been wrecked by that group of 4. So that group of 4 was doing what they needed to do, protect their hill force, without really exposing themselves to anything else. So
Gotcha.
They got what they wanted out of it. Vetro and Rocks now rotating to the south to stop Militant, next soldier, whose moves are pretty much inevitable at this point. Strong hill control from 07, doing it in what is arguably a better way than Noble was doing it. But only time will tell as additional hit points.
Yeah, Dodoma getting some good shots there onto ZXFT in that position that we haven't seen when he finds him. Dodoma picking up ZXFT, a beautiful pickup there for Noble. And I was actually going to question why Dodoma was pushing so far into that village over on the east, but obviously he was looking for blood.
LTTB's goal in life is just to be trolly. That's pretty much it. You don't want to get caught. You want to do a lot of little annoying damage, do things where people have no choice but to try and deal with you, and then run away, wasting their time. T37, Commander J getting shot a little bit. Kind of a stagnant fight.
Yeah,
People just taking snapshots at each other right now.
Yeah, and when we see these kind of things happen, where you see just shots going out, no very clear, a clear motive, clear objective in a battle. Is this just time for both of the teams to try to kind of sketch up a game plan quickly on the fly, or is it just one team looking for the other to react? These resets going onto Germ, making the cap, another shot getting low as well. Wow, he just takes a lot of damage. One more or a couple more shots, and he will go down as he is on the retreat. Shot going right over his head. Dodemon taking some good damage himself. 07 doing a good job sort of winning this kind of stagnant battle that's going on here, but Mako's taking some damage, and it looks like Canadian Impact, Dodo, and Akula all getting ready, all bunching down. Commander J taking some shots on the Warbander himself. Has to find cover behind that rock, or he will likely go down as the push has begun. Impact, Dodo, and Akula pushing on. Mako's getting extremely low. One more shot, and he will go down with Canadian Impact himself, finding it. Let's see if Mako's can pop out. No, Akula's actually Dodoma gonna find Fosta, and Warbander trying to respond by taking Canadian Impact down. A good one-from-one exchange here, but still the tanks are in favor of Noble Gaming. Dodoma pushing up extremely aggressively, almost by himself there, and he will be taken down for it. 07 doing a good job picking that up, evening out the tanks, and the health is actually in favor now of 07, just by a margin. Not much, but Vetro gonna try to increase that margin. Now dropping down to 400. Commander J in a little bit of trouble himself. Commodore finding Commander J in that T37, and 07 doing a great job cleaning this one, finding the overmatches where they can, and now they're turning their attention to Akula. Militant in that T54 up on top, doing his best to try to take down Vetro, but Vetro will find Akula. It is now just X-Shoulder who finds Warbander, but it is a 2v4. Let's see if Noble can take this one down. Militant finding Makos, making it 2-on-3, getting extremely close. Rocks and Vetro trying to find the overmatch that they can against Militant in that T54, who has decided, it looks like, no, he is staying on top of the hill and getting beautiful crossfire and focus fire from the side of 07 Gaming. He finally bails off X-Soldier, taking a shot into Rox Milton, trying to run away. Let's see if Commodore can pick him up before he gets too far. He will, and now it is just X-Soldier on the side of Noble Gaming. 07 doing a beautiful job. Looks like they're going to be coming out on top of this battle as well.
That was pretty crazy.
That was, yeah.
07 extending themselves a little bit too far forward the north. Noble not pushing hard enough to take advantage of it, then letting Vetro and Rox come all the way up from the south unscathed in order to support and solve that push that was coming out of Noble, and what was supposed to be in isolation and a very easy set of kills for Noble turned the other way around and turned not only just a set of kills but all the way to a victory for 07, just out-tanking and somewhat out-calling Noble, Noble being a little bit too timid for that fight, and it cost him big.
07 making up another one, making it now 2-1 against Noble. Now, looking like David, what I want to talk about there, because we had 07, who was tank down. Noble, had the tank advantage, and I do want to maybe continue speaking about the push that they made, finding that Overmatch not quite reacting to it quick enough.
I mean, that's really hit. So there were a number of tanks that had pushed over the hill. 3, an LTTB, an IS-3, and a T-54, I believe. In that situation, there may have been another 54 that showed up at some point in time before Rox and Vetro did. But really, it just, I think it was Warbender. But anyways, they were fairly low and isolated in comparison to the number of Noble troops that were there.
Okay.
Noble really could have pulled either or both of their 54s out of the island area and pushed it, but they also needed to make sure that somebody made sure that Rox and Vetro couldn't come out from their southern position, drive all the way north across the map, and help their teammates. You're going to take a certain amount of damage anytime you try to aggress on the people in a defensive situation. But Noble seemed to got scared when they took some of that damage for no real reason. And a great focus fire from 07, picking up, I know there was a moment where Dodoma had one of the tanks dead to rights. I think it was potentially Makos. And Makos was turning, getting ready to try and deflect the shell, but his teammate fired across, took out Dodo right at the last second. And that's all she wrote in that instance. It's just a fumble, a fight that should have gone in Noble's hands and didn't.
Yeah, well, again, and beautiful also on top of the hill, looking at the focus fire coming out for 07 against Noble there, doing a great job picking up those damage points when they could. Now up 2-1 against Noble. We are now, ladies and gentlemen, in our fourth and final battle onto maps for our match number 3. Let's get right into it. Let's see if Noble can tie it up or if 07 can get a nice little victory here. Let's get right into that. And David, what do we got for our tanks?
For tanks for Noble, we have a T-32, 5 T-54 lightweights, and a T-37. For 07, 2 IS-3s, 4 T-54 lightweights, and a T-37.
Now, coming out from the side, if you are Noble Gaming here, looking at they seem to have used those lighter tanks in favor when they were on defense, and also using them on offense. Is that kind of a style you see with teams, finding tanks that they just like and they'll use them on both sides, or is it just maybe a better tactic to have different tanks for different?
Mine's is just much more of a light tank map.
Okay.
Whether that's something they follow as a general philosophy is debatable at this point. 07 runs quite a variety of heavy and light, but on this map, it's generally a light map, and Noble is showing that on offense, but they don't show it on defense. And I'm not entirely sure why, because defense, it's almost more important, if you ask me, to be able to challenge that hill and take a hill the way that 07 did last time.
Sure.
Once they took the hill, it was a very weird fight for Noble to have. And Noble's trying to do the same thing. They're just trying to do it with a lot of armor and a lot of hit points. And that works in its own ways. But Fosta getting lit up.
Yeah, taking a lot of early damage there in that T-37. He is being spotted, looks like, by X-Soldier on top of the hill. Some more shots going. And I'm very intrigued on 07's positions here. This is actually something I haven't seen very often in defensive. What is this, why? What the reasons we see, tanks being sent over to the west? We have some guys, being pushed up on the hill, but they've decided just to sit back and pull all their forces and kind of maintain in their spawn.
The one advantage to what they're doing, there's not many. The
Okay.
one advantage to what they're doing is they are denying Noble spotting. So Noble really doesn't have as good of an idea of where a lot of these people are. Now, Commodore fired back at X-Soldier, so Noble knows where one of the tanks is. But they don't really know where the rest are.
Sure.
And if they check the 1-2 and they were to spot something, then perhaps they would go 8-9 and get suckered into a trap. There's another side of that where if they go 1-2 and it's there, Perhaps 07 has a different kind of trap set up. But right now, it's just denying intelligence from 07, or from Noble. So Noble can't make a great call, and they have to confidently make a call in the blind. And that requires a lot of deduction, a lot of inference, and a lot of preparation in order to do it correctly. But I think the choice that they're making right now is probably the correct one.
Okay.
Check out the 1-2. Make sure it's clear. And if it is, you can kind of get some information there. They'll know where ZXFT, Makos, and Vetro are. That gives you 3 54s. And then knowing that nobody else is there, it kind of opens up a nice little easy trap, considering if nobody is in the 5-6 line on the back of that hill, those 3 54s are not very easily supported by where Warband or Commodore and Fossa are.
Okay.
So they're essentially isolated. You can just put 5 tanks on them and clean it up pretty quickly.
Huh. Now, as you're saying, Noble moving into those positions, finding Germ now pushing into this hill, taking some damage onto Makos as he drops below half health. Germ pushing up extremely aggressively. Now positioning it in, finding Vetro, who's being lit up from across the map. A lot of damage going into 07 here, and Noble doing a good job finding these early leads. And as we speak, Canadian Impact getting an early kill onto Makos. Vetro taking some damage himself, and it's not looking like 07's tactic is paying off for him here.
Nope. Just clearly not very well thought out in comparison. Noble showing composure, doing exactly what they need to do, getting actually more shots before getting close than I expected them to.
Yeah.
Vetcher going down to Germ. Dodema firing out on a Rox. Rox is pretty much kill at this point. There's not too much longer in his lifespan. Honestly, ex-Soldier and Militant can just come over here and finish this up.
Okay.
There's no real point in finessing it with the amount of information that they have right now. It's disciplined play. There's no point not to do it this way.
Sure.
It's just
You don't have
they can very easily recognize that
Right.
it's over right now and just close it up.
So now Rock's taking some more damage by Akula and Germ there over those floors. Warband still sitting back in his spawn, and the cap pressure has been applied. It looks like Commander J will be the one to do that, putting on that western cap. As we have only 5 members remain for the side of 07, and every single member for Noble at full health. Not a situation you want to be in at all if you are on defense. Actually, even if you're on offense at all, being a tanker going against your enemy. One thing I do want to note, David, is they're still sitting in their base, right? They're 2 tanks down, and they're maintaining those positions. Warband are still way in the back. What is he contributing to the overall team right now?
He's just protecting them from an 8-9 push. So nothing at the moment. Fosta going down.
Oof.
Biggest concern for 07 is actually just resetting cap. Noble's spending so much time on that cap. A proper reset and running away in certain circumstances could be the only way they escape. But Noble finally closing their jaws around their prey here. Germ pushing out the rocks. ZXFT and Commodore and the wide open Warbander is also spotted. It's just an exercise and target practice here for Noble to clean this up. As you said, taking the first damage of the game so far.
Yeah, there he goes. Now a minute and 45 seconds left, so very impressive. If that's the first time we're taking damage, Akula gonna find ZXFT. Now just Commodore and Warband left in his eyes. Threes Dodema coming off the hill to join the fun, and the rest of the team pushing in. They have maintained Commander J on that cap to maintain that cap pressure to keep that siren going. Maybe just as it points into 07 series. Dodema gonna find Commodore. Warbanders left, and it looks like Noble is gonna tie this one up 2-2 against 07 Gaming in our 3rd match of the night. There it is, Germ picking it up. Victory going over. We're talking about tying that one. So now, David, something I do kind of want to question, a question that I have about this situation that 07 has kind of gotten themselves in. So you're saying the main reason they do that is to kind of deny vision, which makes your enemy, maybe your opponent, maybe overthink things, or maybe play some mind games, or
It is the only reason I can think of why they would do it. Realistically, why they got in that situation is perhaps some people were supposed to go hill. There's a miscommunication about who was, or something happened, and then they were like, well, let's just try this. But it's because that didn't make a whole lot of sense. Here, Noble just took a timeout.
That's right.
So I don't think we can really infer anything along the lines of strategy or anything like that from that.
Just miscommunication.
It's tied 2-2, and after what 07 just did right there, I don't think Noble is feeling like they really need a break or they need to cool off. More likely, somebody just need to go to the bathroom, which Sadly, I know it's disappointing for you folks, but sometimes that's all a timeout is.
No. Don't
In
listen
fact,
to
the
him.
number of times that we're talking about how
No.
strategically important it is,
He's got
it
strategy.
probably isn't at all.
They're pulling up blackboards and they've got markers. They're really digging into what just happened there. They're creating some grandiose strategy for next time. Trust me. No, it's never bathroom breaks.
Well, not a whole lot worth looking at in the stats. The only thing worth commenting on is Dodoma putting up nearly 2,200 damage
Wow.
in 9 penetrations. Not bad, not bad.
Okay.
And for all of you who are in Twitch chat, I'm sure there's at least been some discussion at this point about how Dodoma's name is pronounced. You're all wrong, unless you're saying it like us. It's Dodoma.
Yeah.
That's it. It's Dodoma. Like, how would I not know? He was on my team. In fact, I even went and double-checked with him last week just to be sure before I picked on this, because everybody says it wrong, and that's actually kind of a joke. Dodoma or all that stuff. The only thing that we shouldn't do is call him Dodo, but sometimes it's just so easy.
Right. It's there.
It's there, and we were talking fast.
Yeah.
So, but Dodoma. That's how to say it. Dodoma. End of story.
What? Great. I'm glad we got to finalize that one right there.
You got
for
like a
everyone.
whole 20 seconds of
Yeah,
airtime.
yeah,
Don't
yeah.
you feel
You got-
special?
You got fame. Congratulations.
Akula's over there feeling jealous.
You
You
make
wish
your-
you were talking about you, don't you?
You can make your
It's not
check
gonna
out to
happen.
WGLNA.
It's not gonna happen. You
Now-
don't earn any points today, so you don't get the.
Oh, that's
Get that
harsh.
kinda
He's still
love.
playing all right. He's still playing well. He's still playing okay.
Yeah, but I mean, I need some serious points. I gotta stay on top, man.
It's true. Again, big target on this guy. If you guys didn't hear, he is ranked number 1 for Fantasy League. So the goal of everyone who's listening right now is to overthrow this man. And we don't have a prize for it, but you just get some e-cred, right? You get some online e-cred for that, and hopefully to make him extremely angry. I would enjoy seeing that. But back to the game, back to what's at hand. Up next is Himmelsdorf. Now, looking at both of these teams from what we've seen from their play styles and kind of how they played this map, who do you think is going to have the advantage?
Probably Noble. So
Okay.
far, I mean, 07 has had some brief moments of genius, of skill play here in this, but when they haven't been doing well, it's been pretty bad. And
Okay.
Himmelsdorf is a hard map to play. Noble has shown some pretty good skill on it so far, so I would think that they would be in a significant lead for it, but who knows? I mean, we've seen some crazy stuff today.
Well, we're about to find out, ladies and gentlemen, as we're into our 5th battle of our 3rd matchup of the night. Noble versus 07 on to Himmelsdorf. Let's get right into it and see what we got for our tank lineup.
For Noble, 2 110s, a 5100, 3 IS3s, and a T37. I don't know about that lineup, honestly. Maybe I have to give it to 07 now. 07, 2 5100s, 4 IS3s, and a T37. Nobody running the 2801 that we saw last time, which for Noble's side would be pretty great because there's 2 5100s that it could abuse. And for 07's side, 2801 probably not worth in comparison to the T37 in this instance, as really the way I see it is 2801 can really beat up on a 5100. But
Okay.
everything else, it's that heat round, not super reliable.
Now, looking at kind of these starting pushes that we've seen lately, when we first started the season, a lot of teams were really only focusing on that northern cap, they're not really paying any attention to the western side. But the more we kind of developed in Himmelsdorf, the more we see tanks going over to that western side. From this opening push at 07, do you think it's still, are they still kind of debating or kind of planning it out, or from what you see, are they decisively going to the west or the north?
You can't predict from this point. So
Right.
as it works, they're just kind of holding in that position as a defensive posture. They can go either up the 8 line or into the west, and they're using ZXFT and the 5100 over there, Fosta, I believe, to really check it out and evaluate where they want to go from here. Now, nobody's actually watching the 0 line, which kind of questionable, but
Okay.
they are shopping for some shots across the map. Fosta, perhaps. Nope, never mind. I was wondering, there is kind of an angle you can fire into, like the B3, B4 area from up here where Fosta is. It's not really worth trying to do at this point. Oh, okay. Commander J getting lit up by
Wow.
Fosta and DXFT almost going down.
What amount of damage?
I'm gonna have to hop over there and look at why that happened. My guess is that he broke something and they could see it from up here.
Okay, there's no way he was spotted.
All right, yeah, it looks like when he entered into this spot, he ran over a pretty significant chunk of the wall.
They're looking at that.
And wisely, Fosta and CXFT looked over there, figured he's probably against the side of the building.
Wow.
Took a combo shot into that area, both connected, or at least one connected for enough. Hard to see from this angle, but I believe both did. And then they just kind of sprayed in the general area. But I want to emphasize how crazy that is, because that's not even something you can see from that distance.
Really?
You cannot render that far from the top of the hill all the way to the one line. That is something that we used to do in very rare situations, but it never paid off like that. It was always trying to snipe a T1, and it never hit outside of practice.
So was that just timing?
It's just they're just taking shots to see if they can get it. I guarantee you they don't know that they hit him right now.
Gotcha.
Unless they've seen him since, which I don't think they have. So when they have seen him, they're probably going to get a little chuckle out of it. But we'll see. We'll see for them if that chuckle is the only thing they're going to have left out from this match, because early damage on Commander J or not, if you lose this one, well, not going to be a fun time.
Not much you can
so
laugh at.
far, teams taking a lot of time posturing, trying to find the exact entrance they want.
Yeah.
Noble is looking significantly better
Okay.
in what they're doing right now, because these IS-3s, if they push up, Dodoma on the outside can really clean them up. Commander J has the vision to make sure it's safe for him to do so. Commodore, Mako's lit in the middle. Noble has a very good idea of where all these tanks are, and I'm not really sure where 07 is intending to go, because they're spending way too much time waiting once they get into certain positions.
They really, yeah.
And you can do that on some maps if you're not spotted, but on Himmelsdorf, every second you lose.
Oh.
There we go. T-37 Commander J versus ZXFT. Dodo chiming in from the other side.
One more shot. GXIT will go down to that T-37. Let's see if it's going to be Commander J to pop out and take that shot. It is Commander J finding GXFT, and now a tank down. The first tank of the battle going down for the side of 07 Gaming. And one thing, well, it seems as if 07 trying to relocate, pushing back across the courtyard is, if you are Commander J in that instance where you're driving along, you take just some damage out of nowhere. Is it easy to just chalk that up to like, oh, that was either like a lucky shot, or that was just timing, or do you start questioning, oh, am I spotted? Do they see me? Where could they be? Like, could that cause some fear maybe on the side of Noble?
Depends on the player. I mean, he know where he got shot from. Should have, at least from the hill.
Yeah.
And there's literally no other place he can get shot from.
Okay.
We're in the position that I believe he was in, without knowing exactly where it came from. So in that instance, he was probably just like, wow, they shot me from the hill. That's
good for them.
That's ridiculous. And he's probably
Sure.
mildly irritated about it. But then he just adjusts, and it's no big deal. 07 making a pretty smart play here, adjusting to what they saw, trying to get away from Dodoma's trap, and trying to cater a little bit more into their strength, which is trying to get a proper tank-on-tank fight and getting those 5100s into a position where they can do a ton of damage. Commander J slipping around the outside of Fosta.
Ooh.
That could be a huge problem. If Fosta goes dry, and Commander J can take him to the cleaners with that T-37.
Take him to the cleaners.
But he's got to make sure that the time is right before he does. 07's a little bit split. This is tilting in Noble's favor. All they got to do is collapse on these IS-3s.
But speaking of timing, here goes Noble trying to put the pressure on, pushing in with those IS-3s and the 110 against Warbander and Makos in the corner. Vetro getting lit up, not doing a lot of damage in return. Finally, his shots are coming out. The reset has been caught, but let's see if 07 can take this victory. Canadian back dropping extremely low. One more shot, he will go down. Makos is ready to have it. Let's see if he can find it. No, Dodoma going to find Warbander. Finally, Makos finding impact, but a 1-for-1 exchange still in the favor of Noble as far as tank goes. Makos extremely low. One more shot. He'll go down. Dodo has a shot. Will he get it off? Let's see if he can find it. He does, but it doesn't connect. Makos finding Dodo before he goes down. Now Rox is going to be, looks like the next target, and Germ from the side of Noble. X-Soldier finding Makos, and Rox going to go ahead and find Germ. It is now a 4-on-4. Noble doing a good job. 07 doing a good job coming back from that early tank down. X-Soldier going to be the next target. Rox is going to be able to pick that one out. Militant chasing Fossa here, who is on the reload. Let's see if he can find cover behind his allies. Akula going to go ahead and find Rox. Shots going now against Akula. Vetro getting ready to be fully loaded in that 5100. Let's see how much he can make this count. As over on the side, a shot going out, a lot of damage there, going for Vetro. They got to find Akula before they will. He is not going to reload quick enough. Vetro actually bouncing another shot. He has to find the shot. He does. Akula got extremely close to taking the shot off, but he will not find it. Vetro low with 2 shots left. It is now just Militant and Commander J on the side of Noble with a cap pressure being applied. 3 tanks, all of them for 07 are on that northern flag. The cap pressure is counting down. Not sure Noble can do much in the situation that they're in. No, the time ran out.
There it goes.
There we go. Man, you always looking at the always looking at the cap timer, never the actual overall timer. But man, Vic going out, a good job for defense there, just killing the time.
I missed the timer.
I've
usually
I was like, oh.
usually got an eye on the clock at all times, but that was one of the longest, most protracted fights, and one of the weirdest fights I've seen in a long time. Vetro should have gone down real fast. A lot of people should have done better or worse than they did. Just a complete and utter mess. 07 kind of out tanking Noble. Noble out strategizing 07.
Right.
And Noble takes the win because they're on defense and the clock ran
3-2.
out, and that is it. Otherwise,
that's how it works.
otherwise it was over. I mean, Middleton could not have held out there even with Commander J's help. There's no way.
Well,
it was over.
We were talking also, just you even pointed out during the match how 07 just needs to be doing what they were doing quicker. They burned a lot of time, and obviously it came back to bite them.
Yep, pretty much. They spent a lot of time waiting, and all the things that they did, for the most part, were good.
Sure.
Their actual positions in the north, with how they wanted to do things, weren't perfect because they were too spread. And if Noble had played better, they would have absolutely cleaned up 07. I mean, that should have been Noble's game.
Okay.
But sending the T-37 over there to check the western cap, smart. They found where Dodo was. Sorry, Dodo. Jeez, did it. In my apology, I did it again. Sorry, Dodoma. Anyways, finding him over there was huge. They didn't step in any sort of trap. They didn't push up the 3 line. All of it, all of what they were doing was definitely along the right line of right line of thought.
Okay.
But they just couldn't close it.
Yeah. Noble doing a great job, burning the clock there, winning on defense, ladies and gentlemen, as we're into our next battle. Same sides. Noble on the defense, 07 on the offense. Let's see if 07 can clean this up quicker as we're getting into our next battle. David, walk us through. What do we got for tanks?
Noble with 2 110s, a 5100, 3 IS-3s, and a T-37. Meanwhile, 07 with 2 5100s, 4 IS-3s, and a T-37. Noble is just kind of in general bringing alternative lineups to what the established correct lineups are, the established meta. And traditionally, I know viewers like that. They like to see things that are different.
Okay.
But unfortunately for them, usually the established meta is the way it is for very good reasons.
Right.
And the teams that break that usually pay a heavy price for doing so.
Sure.
And in that instance, I think that was a very good example of what could have happened. If there were 2 5100s on Noble's side, when they pushed over the top like that,
yeah,
it would have been done so fast. But instead, they're rocking these 110s, in the 2 110s, instead of like a 5100 and a 110. I'm fine with bringing 110, but two in place of one of the 5100s is just strange to me.
Okay.
I don't really like it, to be honest. I don't like it. Now, that doesn't mean that it's wrong. Noble could very well dig their way out of a lot of things with that. The way their strategy works may entirely depend on it, and a 5100 has no place, but that would be an anomaly compared to everybody else in the league who has been playing it pretty much the same way with 2 5100s and then 4 IS-3s and a tier 6 of some type, but a push coming out of 07 down the 8 line. I think they've recognized that fight over here was a little bit better for them than anything they found in the West, and they say, just to hell with the rest of that.
All 5 members.
Let's do what we did last time, but faster and not lose to the clock.
I also don't believe that any of them were spotted. Now, looking for the side of Noble, we kind of talked about almost the same mentality of being on mines. When a team is going to go ahead and push that 8 line, you try to punish them before they get to the positions that they're in. And not a single member was punished. Now, is this, as far as Noble's positioning, do you think that still favors them, or is 07 doing a good job as Mako's taking a shot from impact?
Positioning-wise, Jerem is pretty much negated where he is by how 07 has positioned themselves. Canadian Impact should fall in a matter of time, although he can pull around the A-line corner, actually. Typically, that's not something that's allowed, so he's fine. 07 will probably take too much damage doing what they're doing right now. It looks like they're kind of trying to set up a trap, so if Noble came over to try and reset, they could tap him with a lot of tanks.
Sure.
But right now, Noble has much better positioning overall. As long as they send Jay to do a little bit of preliminary scouting before they make a move, they should be okay. However, they are opening themselves up to the triple cap thing that we've seen a number of times, where you let the clock get down in about 20 seconds, and then you push people on there. I mean, they could throw Rocks and Warbander directly in front of Makos and Kamador here, and the only person who could reset in that instance would be Canadian Impact, but he wouldn't be able to because those IS-3's in the way. It's getting really close.
That's right.
It could be on Jay to get the actual reset itself.
I was going to say, looking at Commander Jay pushing across the courtyard there. Let's see if he can be the hero that Noble needs. But no, a reset coming out from Canadian Impact. A good job. And that looks like that was a trigger that was being pulled. Makos taking some good damage from Germ there in that beautiful northern position. The cap pressure has been negated. Jay is now behind 07 in the enemy team. Looks like that plan didn't quite work out. So now if you're 07 and what you just tried didn't work out, I was literally just keep trying it, putting that pressure on the side. Rocks, though, getting some damage again from German. Beautiful snakes in. Akula also getting some more shots and nothing in return. Noble just going to go ahead and increase that health deficit that 07 has. 07 at 7,361 to Noble's 8,800. Over 1,000 HP lead for Noble. 3 minutes and 18 seconds now on the clock. Base cap has been ticking down. Only 2 members, as we're seeing Militant and Dodoma. No, I guess I thought he was going to be repositioning. He's just kind of pushing back there. Militant coming in that 110. They were looking at the kind of overall positioning as the cap continues to go down. Obviously, Noble not too worried that they can get these resets as they have been, but cap pressure down to 17 seconds again. There's the reset. So as 07, obviously this isn't working, right?
Nope, not really. It's not over yet, but right now Noble has every advantage. And there's that another reset. Actually, Canador is the one who's building the most points here, and he's the one that they really have to worry about getting that reset on. But I don't think it is too big of a deal for Noble here. They can collapse on this a lot faster than they are.
Well, cool. They're finding rocks now, and also another member, which was ZXT, dropping Vetro, taking a lot of damage, and there's the reset onto Commodore in that IS-3, exactly what Noble was looking for. Now, no pressure, and 07 doesn't look like in the best of positions. Akula getting dropped to half, but getting Commodore much lower. Germ, looks like he's going to get ready to line up the shot, backs out with it, actually lets it fly, not making any connection, taking some damage himself. And there's the push from 07 covering the corner. Warbanner being on the negative end of the receiving line. As far as Commodore, who's one more shot away, Germ going to find Warbanner. Canadian Impact, back-to-back kills onto Commodore. Foster picking up X shoulder to try to respond, but only 3 members remain for 07. Akula going to go ahead and find Foster. Vetro finding a kill, but being dropped extremely low himself. Just 2 members remain. Noble looks like they're going to pick up their 4th victory onto Himmelsdorf there. 2 in a row. There it is, back-to-back kills in and out. Noble with another win, making it 4-2 against 07 here on to Himmelsdorf. Now, David, let's talk about that push from 07. They made their way in. They put a lot of pressure there in the center.
It's just kind of an ill-conceived strategy from the start.
Okay.
And it's similar to what we saw in Mines, where they were all just kind of sitting in the back, whether it was a mistake or just not very well thought out. A lot of these things happen because they're not planned. It's just sort of a snap call, an impromptu decision made by the caller.
Okay.
And it's not easy to make those calls blind and get them correct in that instance. A lot of little refinements need to be done to make that strategy actually worth it. They were on to some stuff. Overall, just not great play from 07. In that, not great play from not great strategy. I mean, from 07 in that instance. And Noble taking a very long time to get around to it. Especially after watching some of the games we saw earlier. That was almost like watching paint dry. But I mean, I'm hating. I am.
Haters gonna hate.
But it's just because they could have closed that trap like minutes earlier. And there's no reason for them to do it other than for our viewing pleasure. Because all it does is put them at more risk. I mean, they could take all day. But hey, I mean, for all the fans out there,
do it for
get it over with.
Do it for the people.
That was, you had that minutes in advance. Anyways, pretty easy match for Noble.
Yeah. Now
if I were Noble, I would really start looking into different strategic formations, though.
On
the original Northwest one is like as old as time, and then that one they have in the North where they put Germ back there in the 110. I mean, Elevate already showed it's got some huge weaknesses to it, and it just Elevate failed to capitalize on it. But I mean, so they're going to face somebody who comes prepared. Because we're seeing Noble do a lot of the same stuff over and over again. And that's a problem. I mean, so they're going to play against somebody who just hard counters them every match, and they can get 5-0'd easy.
Well, or maybe they're just kind of holding on to that strategy until they do get countered. They're going to pull out, again, this grand scheme that they've been working on their break. But, ladies and gentlemen, we're into our next battle. Noble up 4-2 against 07, just needing one more victory onto Himmelsdorf. We have switched sides. So let's get right into that and check out what do we got for our tanks.
Noble with 3 5100s, 3 IS-3s, and an AMX 12T. That is something far more interesting than that defensive setup we saw before. 07 with 2 5100s, 4 eyes, 3s, and T37. Apparently they like to play both sides of the map that way, and we'll see if it pays out for them. But right now, the interesting thing for me is the multitude of 5100s. It's 5100s are a force multiplier. So if you can get an immediate engagement where everybody's just duking it out, they're amazing.
Great.
But if you're having to do a lot of corner battles, corner poking, they're terrible.
Okay.
Now, ironically, the 3 5100 setup that Noble is running, it could very well be an answer to the defense that Noble runs as well. They make you pay for a lot of the corners that they cross with their IS-3s and their 110s. Actually, they're sitting up for some sort of long-distance shot.
Wow.
It's probably a timed thing, just seeing if they can get anybody on the move. Which, I mean, why not? There's no real point not to.
Okay.
Unless you're trying to keep your tanks hidden. But with what they're doing, there's no hiding those tanks eventually.
It's a
A lot
Commodore.
of tanks actually getting spotted.
Yeah. Is that from up on the hill?
Corner. That's got to be Commander J running binos. It is. He's got
There we go.
binoculars and optics up there. Undoubtedly rations the whole 9 yards, so he can see quite far. And something that that's one of those little things that is important that people often neglect is doing the exact math on sight range. For a similar reason, when I've seen 110s used, when I like to use them before, we put them at the D3 corner.
Okay.
So that corner that Commander J was spotting.
Yeah.
And with the right set of equipment and everything, he can actually spot where Commander J is. So you see back, and you can put a shot back
Fire
in.
up
But
on top.
It's ultimately it's not worth it. That's kind of an old strategy. But all I'm bringing it up for is it's a point about view ranges and how doing the math and doing a lot of preparation really pays out. Noble's showing some good things there. Moving up the 8 line, getting a little bit closer. They're going to need to start some sort of just nasty brawl.
Right, with those 5100s.
To get those 5100s in and make them work, because so far their actual corner play has been a bit lacking. 07 beating them in what really shouldn't have been a close battle, in the first Noble defensive win that they got there.
You know, quickly going back to spotting before any sort of fight kind of breaks out here. All these tanks, for my clarification, all run 6th Sense. Am I correct?
Oh yeah, they have every skill.
Right.
Every
single
skill.
one.
Even the ones that nobody cares about.
They got it.
They have them all.
Great. Making sure that'd be so important.
Yeah, absolutely. You couldn't play at this level without all of them. There are certain things about how the game works that those skills kind of help remedy.
Oh, wow. Commander J getting dropped to below half health as he tries to make that cross to the rest of his team. A good amount of focus fire coming up from 07 there.
One more on the topic of skills, actually. This one is one that most people don't get on regular tanks because it's so much less important than everything else. Eagle Eye is a skill that lets you see the damage modules on the opponent if you leave your cursor on them for a certain period of time. A couple seconds. Nobody pays attention to this for the most part because nobody actually plays with it in the real game. However, in these situations, it can be huge. Like, say for example, where Ex-Soldier and Commander J are, and they can get their reticle on Commodore for a little while, and they discover Commodore is ammo racked.
Oh.
That's a huge thing.
Sure.
Sometimes those little bits of information of knowing that this IS-3's ammo racked or this guy has a dead gunner or something like that can set you up to make a crazy play because you know now that ammo rack is damaged that you have an edge in DPM, damage per minute, or that they're unlikely to be able to snipe from far away because the gunner in the 5100 is dead.
Sure.
And these pros should know where all the modules are, where all the crew members are.
Wow.
And be focusing for them. And they have another skill in there that actually increases the chance, Deadeye, I believe it's called, that increases the chance that they will do damage to crew members and modules. So these are all things that they really need to be taken into account for. So like T-37, it's not just damage. He should be aiming for fuel tanks, ammo racks, engines, and he can do a lot of damage to them. Or say he sees the front of a 5100. If you shoot to the left of the gun when facing the front of a 5100, that's where the gunner sits, right there, looking out a viewport.
Are you guys taking notes on this, by the way, ladies and gentlemen? Take notes.
You can absolutely ruin people. Anyways, huge action coming out. 07 stepping up, trying to take this corner away from Noble.
That's right, Commander J and Ex-Soldier still accumulating the points. They're now down to the cap of 23 seconds. As Rock coming in the corner gets lit up by Noble. One more shot, he will go down, but he will find Commander J before he goes down himself to Jerm. And now the battle has ensued. X-Soldier and Nagula popping out from that corner on top. Let's see how much damage 07 can do before they come around the corner. Fosta gonna pick up Germ in that 5100. 1 to 5100 going down. Just remaining 2 left. Double Gaming, Canadian Impact finding Makos, and shots continue to ring out. It is now a 5-on-5 even, but the health in favor of 07 Gaming. Warbanded, though, he is caught out here. One more shot, he'll go down, but everyone seems to be on reload. But Canadian Impact finds it, taking Warbanded down before he can do too much damage. ZXFT in this T-37, finding Akula in that 5100. A huge pickup there for that light tank. Now coming on the corner, Militant. Looks like he might be getting cornered by Commodore and JC himself, but Canadian Impact taking the damage on Dodoma. Not just going to try to do some ram damage there. 110 coming out there. Dodoma actually receiving more for that end. Commodore on the reload, finding Militant. Now turning his turret to the side of Dodoma. They are both on reload here, but Canadian Impact will have the IS-3. Let's see if we can find Commodore. The shot gets bounced. This is not what you're looking for if you're a Canadian Impact, but Dodo now does have the shots up, turning on the side of ZSFT. Let's see if anything can pen that IS-3. He's doing a great job avoiding these shots. Vetro, though, gonna find Canadian Impact. Dodo extremely low. 1 shot, and he will go down. He has 4 more shots to make count. X-Soldier also extremely low in that IS-3. That's one that misses, and ZXFT gonna find another 5100. Doing a great job in that T-37, just leaving X-Soldier by himself. Let's watch the 3 members of 07 come in. Not tying up, but now having another victory, taking that ending of the 9 away from Noble. 1 more shot. Let's see if ZXFT can find this one again. No, it's going to be X-Soldier finding ZXFT, and Vetro taking X-Soldier down, making it 4-3. 07 getting a nice little victory there. Let's kind of talk about what happened there, because it seemed like a lot of stalling, for most of the game.
It took a minute for Noble to get their 5100s in the fight, and when they did, they got absolutely ripped up. The stats on the side of 07 are largely spread evenly, with Commodore doing quite a bit of damage, as he was the last one alive, or one of the last ones alive, last IS-3 alive, if I remember correctly. Yep. So he did a lot of damage. He accrued it over time, but before that, it was probably very equal. Meanwhile, Noble much more concentrated, and just several of their players not getting it done. But one thing I found kind of perplexing in that whole thing, ZXFT, for all the different letters he has in his name, none of them are M or V or P, because that was insane. Like coming in there, cleaning up the 5100, and then the other 5100. I believe he got both of them.
He did. Yeah, he took both of them down.
His target selection was critical. His presence in the exact spots that it was huge. If either one of those 5100s did escape. Now, Dodoma making what seemed to be a very good idea in the beginning. Go and get some ram damage. I mean, that's what a lot of people do,
He took the bulk of that.
It's a little bit too casual, though. A little bit too casual. In this instance, if he had just gone straight up the hill, then coming back around with a full clip might have been a huge difference, because he still had enough to make a difference in that fight. But Commodore doing a great job holding the corner, taking out one of the guns before it even fired. ZXFT just putting up way more damage than anybody expected.
That was good.
And,
T-37.
I think they realized that they threw that one.
Okay.
Or as the modern kids say it, Noble Spaghetti'd.
Noble Spaghetti'd. Actually, I don't know if there's a follow-up for that. I'm just going to say that there. But following this, we do have Noble just needing 1 more victory.
I never get tired of hearing you try to say that kind of stuff.
Well, then if it brings so much joy to you, I'll keep saying it all the time.
I'm sure everybody loves it.
But Noble, again, just needing 1 more victory against 07. Obviously, that plan didn't quite work out for them. And if you did call it, if you call it a throw, you think we'll see a very different setup? Actually, don't answer that question, because, ladies and gentlemen, we can experience the same setup right now as we're into our next battle, Noble versus 07 Gaming. Noble needing 1 more to claim a victory, 07 needing 1 more to tie it up. Both a very critical battle for both players. Let's get right into it and take a look at what do we got for our tank lineup.
Noble again running 3 5100s, 3 IS-3s, an MX-12T. 07 with 2 5100s, 4 IS-3s, and a T-37. One of the key parts for Noble here is they need to actually be on offense, and they need to create the engagement that they want. Strangely, ironically, last match 07 was the more aggressive team, forcing that engagement to happen on their terms.
Sure.
And with the greater number of IS-3s poking on that corner, getting a volley of damage in before they back off, and then forcing Noble to then turn the corner on them, may have been everything that mattered in that fight in the long run. Now, they may have thrown the last bit of what they had going on there, but it got started off on a very bad foot when 07 was allowed to engage that fight without really paying for it too much.
Now, they seem very similar lineup we have for 07 Gaming here, sending these 4 IS-3s to the corner, watching for anyone to cross that 8 line. Looking for Noble. It's just the kind of the same thing that they were running last time as well. Obviously the same lineup, but you know, the same kind of strat.
Yep, pretty much.
Yeah.
Both teams doing pretty much the same thing. 07 slightly adjusted, actually. It looks like they're going to get a boatload of damage when Noble goes up the 8 line. Look at where ZXFT is. So on camera, you can see where 4 IS-3s lie in wait. If I see correctly. Yeah, 4
Yep.
IS-3s. Then ZXFT waiting at the end of the 8 line. If Noble goes up that again, they're going to get spotted just in time for all those IS-3s to
Wow.
tap the first guy around. But looks like they're trying to back out here. ZXFT getting a little bit uncomfortable. He's been waiting there quite a while. I don't blame him. Actually, that's a better position. Now he can see if anybody comes down the A line to come get him. And he can still see what he's going for. Noble going into the west this time.
Yeah.
Not interested in playing that same hand again. But where 07 is, that's just as good as far as they're concerned. Unless Noble presents in the 3 line very, very firmly, which most
Okay.
teams don't. But if they do, all they're going to see, for the most part, are the rears of 3 IS-3s,
yeah.
just begging to die.
Let's take a look at that. There we go. Oh,
yeah,
man.
but I mean, it's not going to happen.
Okay.
I mean,
Just no one
no
does that.
team actually decides like, hey, let's poke out the 3 line. What's the worst that could happen? Because the worst that could happen is usually the defender ruins you for trying. And very rarely are they just going to be sitting there facing that way. So 07 being a little bit meta with it and not being too concerned.
They're just like, yeah, no one's going to do this. We're good.
Plus, Foster's looking in the window, so you can see anybody that comes, and they can just pull around. But
Sure.
that opportunity is gone. Vetro's all the way in the back, prepared for this. This is even better for 07, as long as they don't leave their spots, and in fact, maybe get one of the IS-3s over.
Yeah.
And it's going to be real hard for Noble to collapse on this. All 3 of those 5100s can't exactly brawl in this area, and this is an area that now favors 5100s, favors IS-3s. Vetro may, in fact, get a chance to isolate Canadian Impact and put 6 into him from the top, which would kill him. Beyond the vision range or the render range of Germ, Vetro is
Oh.
actually getting lit up by Dodoma,
Totally.
getting squatted a little bit too early.
Oh, they're trying to get Veteran before he finds cover, but he does find him in that AMX 5100 getting cover in the hangar. It looks like there. Commander J now putting pressure in that AMX 12T onto the cap. And let's see if, you know, like we were saying, 07 can react well to this. Over in the corner, CXFT and that T-37 taking the long way around. Looks like he's going to go on top of the hill. You think he's going to go for the flank there?
Yep, that would not surprise me. He can actually get into this little gap in H0 and fire into Militant next soldier from up there. It'd be pretty amusing for him. Dodoma's position here was absolutely critical in spotting out Vetro and making sure Vetro couldn't come over the top, which is a concern for sure. And he's actually getting a fast clip here. See, he fired 3, so that's huge. Dodo's already put in damage and getting another clip in. Huge play. Backing off one of the 5100s, and anytime you can do damage to a 5100, it's important because they can really only get and do what they want to do when they're at full health. Once they get down to half or so, they get a lot more timid and it's just harder. But what I'm confused about is they put that there, but Makos and Fosta can actually destroy some of the trains where Dodo is and start shooting him in some different places. And it's kind of a risky play for Noble to neglect that spot and not worry about it so much, but it paid off for him.
Wow.
Amador actually taking more damage as he crosses.
And he drops about half health in that IS-2 there. CXFT also over on the side, getting a little bit of damage into the one of the tanks for Noble, but more damage coming out, and the cap pressure is continuing to build up. It is all on Commander J, so they just need to find him and reset it. Makos looks like he's going to want to do it. Let's see if Noble can pick it up before it gets reset. They do! Germ taking down Makos. Beautiful focus fire there, and now it is up to Commodore to get the reset. On to Commander J with just 6 seconds left. Now it is Noble's job to take Commodore down, but no, he takes a huge chunk out, resetting all the cap points. A beautiful pickup there for 07, but Canadian Impact is going to respond by taking down Commodore. He got the reset though. Let's see if that's exactly what they needed. The tanks are in favor of Noble there, as they still have all 7, and 07 has dropped 2 tanks. Rock's taking a little bit of damage there. Pushing up very aggressively is Milton. His IC looks like he's looking for Fosta. Trying around the corner, he knows where he is. Let's see if we can find it and pick it up. Canadian Impact getting some good damage onto Rocks there. Commander J as well. He's up. Milton finding Vetro. Commander J back-to-back kills onto Rocks. It is now just ZXFT, Warbender, and Fosta. Fosta, though, is extremely low. Milton, once he has that clip up, he should take him down. Finding the shot. There it is. There's another 5100 down, and now just 2 tanks remain. Noble looking for blood, pushing in against the Warbander here, all by himself into this little hangar here. Canadian Impact rushing through. Akula in that 5100, and Militant coming around from behind. Beautiful damage coming out here. Noble looks like they're going to take their 5th victory to seal out their 3rd match of the night against 07. Also, the cap pressure is going down. It is now down to 4 seconds. Let's see if ZXFT can be annoying and find them before the cap reaches 0. No, it doesn't look like it. The cap pressure going to 0, and he is found and is absolutely lit up. Damage going across. Dodema going to find it to finish it out. 5 victories going for Noble there against 07. What are your thoughts on that opening? Because you said, obviously, 07 were in a position where it looks like they had that Western cap on lock.
07 clearly, in my mind, hasn't done their homework on the Western cap. It's kind of the same thing as when they lost that match to Time. They're just not rehearsed enough. They're not executing well enough. But they really could have taken it from Noble on that instance. Noble looking weaker than I would have expected against a team that didn't look ready to play Himmelsdorf in particular.
Sure.
They did very well on mines in comparison. Now, they threw a couple times in some weird ways, but altogether, 07 hanging with a team that should be better than them.
Yeah.
Just based on what we saw overall strategy there,
and
baffling in a lot of ways.
Well, and like you're saying, if 07 maybe does their homework and kind of studies and learns from these things, they could be a very formidable team in the season. But congratulations again to Noble,
really
a 5-3 victory against 07 there for our 3rd match. Ladies and gentlemen, upcoming is our 4th and final match of the night. Don't go anywhere. We'll be right back after this quick break.